All right, I'll show you innovations, and so were we at refrigerated cars, or did I go past that? So let's go look at the different styles of refrigerated cars through history. That would be kind of fun.
Are you going to come out to the modern Walmart?
Well, you know, if we have time. You know, we only got a few months to cover all kinds of refrigerated railway cars. So next year, that will be an elective. Refrigerated cars. What's that?
I'm curious about how many people you
I have. Basically, I'd have in special topics in American history, we probably will not do refrigerated cars. We're doing presidential scams. Yeah.
This test?
For the semester final, yeah.
Oh, final. So
In fact, oh gosh, thank you for reminding me.
wait, semester final?
Semester final.
This test next week.
Well, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like 1 week.
2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from yesterday. I made a change. You have to know not only all the presidents, but all the Secretary of States and the height of the Secretary of State's wives. I don't want their name, I just want their heights. Or husbands. Husbands, well, no, since we're going to Teddy Roosevelt, it's only men.
I feel like she's a shark.
There have been a God, I could see her. She was.
You would fail the test.
No, Bill Clinton had the first woman as Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. She would wear these massive brooches, and it was just really interesting. That was kind of her thing.
They were really
Like,
big.
they were huge, but she was, but she was the first woman as Secretary of State. It was really big deal. Now it's like not a big deal at all. There have been in your lifetime, because you were born in 1999, is that all right? 98. So you've had three women in the Secretary of State in your lifetime. That's pretty remarkable, considering that the first one, well, now it's like just normal. It's not a big deal. It was a big deal when she became Secretary of State. Let's get back to what really mattered, the test.
Wait, I have one more question.
Sure,
Was
7.
fluoride really short?
Yeah, fluoride was
I
really
feel
short.
like she was tiny.
Yeah, she was a tiny woman. Yeah. Okay, so back to this. What you have to know are all the presidents from Washington to Teddy Roosevelt, and it's on your little review list. And so that I think that's 26 names, because you have to put them in order. If they serve 2 terms, you have to put them once. One president you do have to put twice, because Grover Cleveland served non-consecutive terms. So you have to put him twice. But then all the rest. And last name is okay. So Washington, unless they have the same last name. So you have to put like J. Adams, J.Q. Adams. That makes sense to everybody? W.H. Harrison, B. Harrison. Yeah.
Well, we have to know their names off the top of our head, or they'll be right.
So nice, like a word bank.
You don't get a word bank.
Was it item?
You gotta know.
What? Wait, how many are
26.
26.
And most of them will not be hard at all.
Yeah.
It's just filling in the blanks. And if you have to put in order, but if you miss one and get them all like one, I'm not going to mark them all.
Oh, thank God. I feel
I would never, but I mean, like if you forget one, and so you have Lincoln as this 15th and not the 16th president, I won't mark them all wrong. And you have to know the parties. And that's just initial for the party. Washington was no party, it's just an N. Adams was a Federalist, so just an F. Jefferson was a Republican, so just an R. And originally I was going to do that on the finals day on Wednesday. But then I realized, no, you still have to worry about the presidents, and then you have to worry about your short IDs, and that's kind of cruel. So we'll do it next Friday.
how much is our
Presidents.
Yeah, the president. It'll be part of your final, but we'll do it Friday, so you don't have to worry about doing it on your semester test day. You just worry about the material. And you might be asking, well, wait a second, why do you want us to know the presidents? The thing about knowing the presidents is, it's not the exact date, but the more things you know, the kind of the order that they happen, it's easier than when you have to go back and remember things, to plug things in. Oh yeah, okay, I remember Tyler. And then that triggers, oh yeah, well, Texas, things like that. Or, oh yeah, I remember, Thomas Jefferson. Oh yeah, okay, Louisiana Purchase. And then a few, okay, he's Republican, and maybe that might trigger other memories. The more things you have, the more knowledge you have, it's easier then to fill in the blanks. And that is actually a truism. That's how critical thinking works. You can't critically think if you don't have nothing to kind of stick the thought to. And so presidents is just an easy way to kind of give you a kind of a guideline through the years. It really does work. It's just, and it's not, I'm not saying all of a sudden now for the rest of your life, it's, oh, Benjamin Harrison was elected in 1880. Which, by the way, is a great party game. I can do that. You just say a year, and I can tell you what president. 1923, 2 presidents. Harding and Coolidge. I can do that. It's very weird. It's the way, and it's not that I have a great memory, but that's because I can plug everything in real quick. It just all kind of fits together.
Wait, say the presidents as fast as you can.
Well, I can't do it that way. It's not the I just do it by, I just know exactly what they are. I mean, I could do it, I can go down, but if you just do it in order, I have to kind of make sure I get the right order. But years, I can just do that in a year. Okay, so let's go take your notes out. Say it again.
2020. 2020.
Yeah, see, Harding died. Calvin Coolidge. Harding was one of our most corrupt presidents. Hmm?
Are we then?
We'll get to him. 1920, he was elected.
Are we then going to do like the presidents after that next semester?
No, it gets better.
All of them.
All of them. But that would be in like the first week of June. The AP test will be done. In fact, we've already taken the semester final. And so we'll have it. And so that'll be one of our last things.
Wait, what do we do after our AP test?
Okay, let's go take your notes out. AP test. We'll finish in loose ends. We'll have our second semester final will be about a week after the AP test. So we'll have it there probably a couple days. But that's good. So we'll have to, because what we've done, so we have to worry about having the test out last week. Now last year, you guys didn't have to come to class. Maybe again. If we have to bring it back, we'll just literally just have like something fun on that. I might have to bring it back. Last year I didn't have to. That was nice. Oh yeah, what the heck? All right, so we got some refrigerated cards. Let's get to this. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was another innovator, and the big thing about Edison was it's not that he invented it, but he had a thing in Menlo Park. What am I trying to say? Lab. Menlo Park is in Menlo Park, New Jersey. He had a lab there. And so he very much pushed the idea that he was the wizard of Menlo Park, this great inventor. Yes, he was an incredibly innovative man. But one of his great innovations was to hire people to invent, and part of their contract is he would get the patent. Yeah, you heard me out. But by the way, that's what happens in most people. If you go and you work in any kind of innovation, so whether it be science or any kind of technology, you don't get the patent. The company you work for gets the patent. So that's the way it works. It's part of your deal. But he did a number of innovations. But remember we talked about how electricity leads to all these. We did that yesterday, didn't we? Talk about that. Yeah. Think about electricity. So we have a light bulb. Light bulb doesn't make sense. Now he didn't invent the light bulb. He invented, well, his lab invented the little filament inside that would glow when electricity went through it, thus light. There were other forms of light. Some of them were actually quite terrifying when they would blow up, which I think adds fun. But wow, just everything changed with the invention of the light bulb.
What other things?
What's that?
What other like light sources?
Candles.
Back then? You mean when he invented the light bulb, how did they have light?
Like you're saying there's other things that they use.
Well, they had a couple things. Basically, it was different types of gas, and they would use the gas, and either they would some way to electrically charge the gas, like neon, or literally like light it on fire. It's really scary, and that would be one way to do it. And then, I mean, the biggest form of light then were coal oil and kerosene. In fact, to make kerosene is how they came up with this awful byproduct that we call gas. It was making kerosene. So, light bulb. And then the phonograph. The phonograph was originally a tube, right here, and it would play that, but eventually he would begin to put it on wax, and then it would eventually go on vinyl. And the record player, the idea that all of a sudden now you can actually take this home. In a way, this was great to listen to music. In a way, it's kind of had a negative effect over the years. Before you had to play yourself and learn.
Were these both 1877?
No, the phonograph,
Wait, why is that happening?
yeah, both came up about 1877, yeah. I was thinking about something else in my head. I don't know where else I think. And, but the thing is now people don't play instruments as much. And playing an instrument and being, and even if, you know, good or bad, you know, that process does really improve your intelligence. And unfortunately, that would go away for a lot of people. And so that is a negative effect, but then again, you know, I play the trumpet.
I play the violin and the piano.
Not near as cool as trumpet. That's good. And I know other people play it, and that's actually, I think, a very, if you don't, that's, you know, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I just really think that that's help intelligence. Trumpet's great because you can blare. That's really the only reason to play trumpet is to drive everybody else crazy. Next, he also came up with he called it at first the Ediphone. Get it? Edison. Get it? But it's also the Dictaphone or the Dictabell, and it was the first recorder. You can talk into it and record. Well, what it does is it basically records on these tubes, and when you talk into it, it has basically something that will grind, make the lines in the tube, and it will make the line in such a way, kind of by wavering the line. When you put a stylus in there, it'll create sounds, like a record player. So think about it. It basically makes a record for you. It's pretty remarkable how creative that is. But remember, there were other people doing it. It's not like all of a sudden, like, you're sitting there like, Eureka, and put this all together. And it's interesting with this that these dictaphones were still used into the 1970s. Not a heck of a lot different. They had little tubes. The first, when President Roosevelt wanted to record conversations in the White House, he put in a dictabelt. And Truman had it. Eisenhower had it. Kennedy had it. Johnson replaced it with a taping system, a bit more modern taping system. It's coming with wider taping, actually. Then he also did the motion picture camera. Once again, he did not invent it on his own, but he put a number of different inventions together. And in New Jersey, then would be the motion picture capital of the world. They would begin filming movies, the first very short movies. I'll show you one when we get to the Spanish-American War, where they reenact the charge of San Juan Hill. It's hilarious. But it's really fun. But New Jersey didn't last there. Why? Very quickly after he invented this, in early 20th century, why did they start making more and more movies in Southern California? Yeah, why did they? Exactly. Dry. Doesn't rain. Doesn't rain, you have more days to shoot. Just very logical. Yeah, I mean, Los Angeles was kind of growing. There's water. There's all kinds of reasons why, but yeah, it doesn't rain, so you can film it. What were they talking about? Yeah, and so this is my, if you want to be a movie director, write this down. Don't film in snow. Okay, moving on. Why? It melts. Then you shoot the next day and there's no snow. What do you do? What was the movie they did with Leonard DiCaprio? And they're filming snow. It didn't have enough snow, so they filmed it. They went. What is it again?
It's this new one, isn't it?
They filmed it like in Antarctica or something, like for part of it to get snow. I thought that was really funny. And the also funny part is in that movie, the story is based relatively on a true story guy who, a professor at UM, wrote the book.
I don't think it's out. The one that's in it.
Maybe it's next week.
Yeah, I think it's coming out like.
They just had ads
Yeah, it's
constantly.
soon.
But it has all these mountain scenes, and it happened in central South Dakota. I think that's really funny. The mountains of South Dakota. All right, next. Alexander Graham Bell is another one we must put in there, and he, along with Alexander Hamilton, invented the telephone. And Alexander Graham Bell. But he actually took 8 major inventions from other people to put together for the telephone. In fact, he used the amplifier that Edison's Menlo Lab made for the phonograph, and that made telephones usable because you could hear it. You run the sound wave through charcoal, that amplifies it.
How do you send a long distance like that? When I first made there's only 2 guys.
Yeah, they're from one room, but you just connect the wires, yeah. And the big thing is you have to find something where the transmission, where the impulse will bleed out. So they had copper wires and then insulating wires.
No, that makes sense.
They came after the telephone.
How do you have a picture? You're like,
Basically, they combined the two.
what? How?
And he actually was coming up with something for people who are hard of hearing, and it happened. But the thing is that you put one innovation on top of another innovation. They just keep, and then you can go from there. They keep innovating. The biggie, one of the biggest arguments and the most important thing is now that we have electricity, what about how do you get it to people's homes? How do you get it to business? How do you light up factories? How do you get the current there? Direct current, that's Edison. And direct current was from the human body to turn lights on. You run electricity into your body. I'm making that up. Don't run electricity into your body.
I was like, what?
Yeah, basically that's what it's based from a battery. But you come up, his original generators would push electricity down. Oh, you have one cord and go right down the line to the source. One straight line. Yeah.
That way, Tesla is associated with
Yeah, Nikola Tesla.
Teslas are slow.
Yeah, Tesla. He also thought he came up with self-sustaining electricity that didn't need a generator. But that probably wasn't true. But there's a whole big conspiracy theory about it.
Edison was direct.
He's direct. He even created a company to market direct current. Basically, what they do is they make a little electrical generator near your home or a bigger one near your house because it would bleed away through the wire. Nikola Tesla came up with alternating current, AC, DC. Alternating current, Tesla would argue that it was much more efficient. Direct current, by saying electricity down the line in one straight, just electricity down the line, electricity would start to bleed out of the wire, and so you couldn't have lines that long. Alternating current, well, have you ever look at an extension cord or a cord for a phone? I don't have one. It's all I used to have a really good I had an old extension cord that had this, but you see, but there's two wires, basically have 2 wires together. And alternating current, the most basic element of this, is in one pulse of electricity through one wire, then another pulse through the other wire. They go kind of make a loop back and forth. And the advantage of that was this is not one continuous line of electricity, but it's down each wire almost continuously. There's a little gap in between. It doesn't bleed out as much. So you can have longer transmissions. And that's what we use today, AC. Batteries are direct current. Solar actually does to a battery, so that's direct current too. You can switch back and forth with converters, but anyways, that's when Tesla came up. And there were some transmission problems, so General Electric and Edison were ahead going into the 1890s. It's a big deal. And Edison went on this massive advertising campaign to prove how dangerous alternating current is. Because if you have this loop of electricity going back and forth, if you somehow, like your body, connected the 2 wires, you would be electrocuted. AC is dangerous, DC is safe. We know what he did to prove that DC or AC was dangerous. They killed Topsy the elephant. Now let's be clear about it. Topsy was condemned to die.
What are we talking about?
Huh?
Who's Topsy?
Topsy the elephant.
Oh my
Oh,
Topsy was condemned to die because Topsy, a circus elephant, basically, gored 2 people to death. Now, let's be clear about it. Elephants are very smart, and they don't like to be imprisoned, and Topsy must have been angry. So Topsy was condemned to die, and Edison volunteered to kill Topsy. with AC. There's Topsy, be prepared to be killed. And that's what they did. They electrocuted Topsy to prove how dangerous AC was. But I got to be clear about this. Topsy was a murderer.
Well, yeah, but there's.
I'm being facetious. It doesn't really work. I'm sure elephants all over the country are like, I better not do that anymore. Topsy got it. Our master plan is ruined. Topsy. Poor Topsy. That is a horrific way to go. Yes, they still use electrocution until relatively recent to kill condemned prisoners.
How long?
Does it hurt? It hurts.
Incredibly bad.
How, like,
You know, there's been one. I know there's one electrician that they pumped the power through for about, I think it's about 28 minutes.
I'm so scared.
Oh, it's cruel as you can get.
When was late injection?
But George Westinghouse, got to move on. George Westinghouse would take this, and Westinghouse would be one of the great innovators of this era. Westinghouse came up with an electric dynamo called the alternating system that would finally solve the problem that Tesla could not solve. And then sold the patent to GE, and Tesla was broke. Tesla got nothing for this. And by the way, this guy named David Faraday in England actually came up with the first electric dynamo that did this back in the 1830s. Basically, he figured out by studying, they were studying electricity, and they realized that if you run electricity through a line, it becomes a magnet. It attracts metal. So what if you reverse it? What if you put like copper and then spin a magnet around it? What would that create? Electricity. That's how electricity is created. So right here, this is a big copper tube, and around it is magnets. Just spin. So hydroelectric dam, what does that do? It funnels water into very small pipes. Those pipes, the water going through the pipes will turn a wheel. That's that. That's how that works. Or a steam engine turns that, whatever it might be.
wait, what exactly could Tesla not figure out again? Like what was
Well, the big thing Tesla was having trouble with was electric dynamo like this, that was strong enough to send power down the line a great distance and be consistent enough. And Westinghouse, his people came up with this. He also came up with a hydraulic brake. And hydraulic brakes were a big deal because trains, it's really hard to stop a train. And hydraulic brakes made it much easier to stop a train and therefore much safer, but the big thing is more efficient for companies, and we're losing this man. How do they stop trains before they hydraulic brakes?
You smash into something.
In a way,
You coast it.
disc brakes. They had to have a piece of metal would have to go against the wheel and press against it until it stopped. How do you engage this? Every car had to have a guy riding it. And they put up a red light from the engine. And they'd see that, they'd be ahead of it, and they would turn a crank. And that crank would stop the train. Can you think of a more horrific job? Volunteers. Yeah, there's always some, don't do it! Not only is it dangerous, think about right today. Let's go riding on a train. You're outside the train. You're outside. Think about going across North Dakota today. It's 4,000 below.
4,000.
I'm not even counting.
That's
Well,
below
how does, like,
absolute
one
zero.
break goes down?
Yeah.
Huh?
That is worse.
Over 300 brakemen were dying a year by the 1890s.
That's what-
Hydraulic brakes, though, would begin to change this. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But, and of course, trains got to go as fast as they can because they were trying to make money. Here are a few more. Just get all these down. Good. All right. I put these down to give you an idea of all the innovation. No, you obviously don't need it, but look at all these. You know, the typewriter. Typewriter that we take for granted. Oh, by the way, so the typewriter by Christopher Scholl. I guess we'll also mention this. That's why the keyboard, we have the keyboard that doesn't make sense today. It's from the original typewriter. Why? Slow you down. You notice you got to use these fingers so you don't go as fast. Because the original typewriters, they basically had a little each letter would pick a hammer and smash through ink into paper. And so if you're going too fast, it'll jam. So you have to, seriously. So you slow it down.
Why didn't they change the modern keyboard?
Because everybody learned how to type that way. So when people were learning how to, when they started going to computers with keyboards, especially in the late 1970s, they still just use the same keyboards. That's what people learn. So you keep learning and learning and learning and learning, and now that's all we know. So that keyboard, which makes no sense now, that's why we got it. Makes perfect sense then. Yeah, I learned my first typing, I'm not a great typer, but my first typing was on a little mechanical one, right? You have to hit keys really hard. 4,000 words a minute, just like the temperature. On the keyboard, though, I'm maybe 30.
Don't be hard to write books.
You know, you just did it.
Yes.
You know, you see shots of these reporters. You know, I saw this great thing about some of the correspondents from World War II. And you know, they're in their helmets, you know, they're with the bat, and they're carrying their typewriter into combat. It's pretty wild. All right, but I put a bunch of them up here. So Eastman, like the first camera, Skyscraper, Benz, and a guy named Felix Daimler made the first. Benz made the automobile. Daimler made the internal combustion engine. X-ray, powered flight. So I just put a lot of these down to give you an idea of how innovations. If you were Levi's, 1873. I just want to give you an idea how many there were. Now we're not going to talk about Ford here, but we're going to talk here, patents. And the thing was, patents are a way to protect. They go through the patent office, patent rights in the U.S. Constitution. And this is a way for if you can submit your invention to the patent office. What's the advantage of submitting a patent, your invention, to the patent office? And they can't steal it, so what do you get then, essentially? What do we call that? If you're the only one,
Monopoly.
you get a monopoly. It's a government-issued monopoly. Patents are big business. You get a patent on something, it's something that people want. You always got to add that qualifier. It's got to be something that people want. Once again, if I get my patent on a new way to make wooden shoes, nobody will care. But if I come up with a new fuel, and I patent that, you with me? It could be a menu. And 276 patents. I love that, for the entire decade. And look how it's innovation, more innovation, more innovation. Over 220,000 in that decade. It's not that they weren't smart before, all of a sudden in 1890, boy, are we smart! It's that innovation leads to other innovation.
Did we make 1890s?
No, I just get the first patent office was 1790. That's why I put that in, give you an idea how few. No, you don't need the numbers. The point is just how many. In 1900, the head of the U.S. Patent Office said, I think we're about done. We've invented everything we can invent. I think that's really funny. The guy who's responsible for the office that, you know, gives patents for innovation didn't really understand innovation. I think that's really funny. Now, it's not most patents aren't consequential, you know, but still, it's amazing how many came out. And today, well, I don't have the number for the 2000s. I guess I could have looked it up, but I do have. In the 1990s, over 1 million. I don't think it's much more than that. And you ever notice how many things you look at, it says patent pending, so trying to get the patent, but there's a lot of other people who've had it. And patents are kind of a big deal, so I'm going to steal your phone. And if you look at this, Apple, patent this. Curved edges.
No one else can.
So they sued Samsung.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah, so you can see what happens with patents.
No, because I read something that Samsung beat them by days.
What happened is Samsung, yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah.
And Samsung, they also patented a bunch of other stuff. And Samsung sued them. And so patents now can be used as ways to get monopolies. And so basically they're government promoted monopolies. There's some good things about it, but boy, it can be misused, and it is all the time today. There's one guy suing every podcaster because he said I invented podcasts because one time I said we should record stuff. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. They're greedy. So, huh?
The guy actually parks it.
Yeah, he patented putting things, recording shows and selling them. And he got a lawyer sent to almost every podcaster he thought was making money.
Has people ever denied their patents because they're like too ridiculous?
What's that?
Do people like get denied getting a patent for stuff that's too ridiculous?
Sure, all the time. Or that they've stolen from somebody else, or they might be too close to somebody else. But still, that's defined ridiculous.
No idea.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to get innovation. Innovation leads to more innovation. Capitalism is an amazing tool for innovation. It's an incredible tool for innovation. I mean, think about it. Because if you take that risk, you can profit from it. But if you can take that risk, you better have something that people want. Thus encouraging innovation, something better. It is an amazing tool. The market does do that. But you also notice if the market starts going away, innovation does go away. And that's an important thing to know. If you don't have that competition, innovation begins to go down. Like now. Innovation is on decline. It's hard to think of new things anymore that are really consequential. Except for new apps, like there's like little games. Those are pretty cool. Yeah.
So like if there's chess and there's copyright. What's copyright?
Copyright is normally for written things. Yeah. Patent is specific for an invention. But they have a similar process. And who was it? The running back for the Seattle Seahawks copyrighted because he didn't like to talk to reporters. He said copyrighted something that said, "I am here because they made me come here," or something to that effect.
Marshawn?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think that's really funny. He copyrighted the fact that he didn't want to talk to reporters. So it can be abused too. You know why? So we sell t-shirts. All right. Tomorrow, today the Flash. Tomorrow, I think there's an obscenity in there too, so don't worry. All right, so innovation. So we talk about government, that's innovation, but all these things are very important. But we got to get one more big thing. Big thing. Big thing. Whiteboards. The other big thing is this is the era and the beginning of big business. Big. Because if you think about innovation, innovation is remarkable, but everybody's innovating. And there's a major incentive to innovate. Doesn't mean every innovation works. It doesn't mean that people are going to sell it, but there's an incentive. And so, when it comes right down to it, one of the most important elements of this new era is bigger and bigger companies. Why? Risk. Risk is one of the most important elements in business. I mean, you think about it. So you say, I'm going to go and I'm going to start my business. I'm going to start, who wants to start a business? Give me a good offer. What do you want to sell?
Shoes.
Shoes? Just random shoes. So I'm going to sell left shoes. And I'm going to go to people and I'm going to sell only left shoes. So you need a partner. No, you want to sell shoes. So start a shoe store, right? Let's stick with the left shoes because you make the best left shoes in the world. So you spend all this money, all the capital, the store, the shipping, hire the work, all these things, right? And let me guess what's going to happen to your business selling only left shoes. You won't make shoes. Huh? Yeah. So the problem happens to go buy your shoes. You go out of business, you've lost everything. That's a big risk, isn't it? By the way, where'd you get the money? Yeah, the bank. You think when you go out of business, the bank's going to say, don't worry about it, it's good effort. No, what are they going to do? Hound you for the rest of your life. Business is risk. Huh? Business is risk. You start a business and it doesn't work, you lose everything. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why it's really hard to start business unless you have a lot of extra money. Because the more you borrow, the more risk there is. But think about it now with these machines. Aren't they getting more and more expensive? That's more and more risk, isn't it? More and more risk. How do you limit the risk? Why is there risk? Why is there risk? Why might you go out of business? Cutthroat competition. You have competitors right next to you, John. Guess what they're doing? This is going to blow you away. They're not just selling left shoes. And together, you can't compete. So the point is this. Everybody's competing with you. So you have all these businesses. Now that was one of the great things about capitalism, about this new market economy. If you have all this competition, that will encourage more innovation, better products, and lowers prices. But if you're running the business, eventually, if you're all trying to undercut each other, to undercut your competition, eventually you have no profit, do you? You see the problem? If you have to keep cutting costs, your profit margin drops to nothing. So what do you do? What do you do? Okay, but they're doing the same thing. You might get lucky and hit that innovation. That's hard to do. Okay, if that doesn't happen, what do you do?
Sell your business.
Yeah, sell your business some other sucker. I mean, would be. It reminds me of sad people. I've had friends who try to start businesses and they're very hard. I had a good friend who tried to start a sports bar, and about 3/4 of them don't make it. And great guy, had no idea what he was doing. He knew he'd be paying that off for the rest of his life. So I feel really bad for him. It's sad, you know. I mean, and then he told me about that, and I said, "That's great. I know you." All right, so you don't know what you're doing. Everybody's been trying to cut costs. The best way to compete is to cut costs. If you can cut your costs as low as possible, you cut your costs, you can drop your prices and still make money. And so you do things to try to cut costs. Now you can cut some labor costs, but remember, wages are not, you can't just pay workers whatever you want, can you? Wages are decided by what? No. The market. Remember, supply and demand for workers. And by the way, you better know that. I'm not just saying that because you need that for a test. That's a concept you really have to understand when you get out in the real world. Yes, you're still in kind of the fake world. You notice I didn't like the real world, so I came back to high school. And start thinking about it, yeah, it is kind of true, and it's kind of creepy in a way. God, I ran away from the real world. I want to be in this illusion called high school. Well, no, it's the market. It's supply and demand. So yeah, you can try to cut wages as much as possible, but you still, if the only way to make money is you need workers to produce the stuff, you got to pay them. So then what do? How do you cut costs? Huh? Say it again? Yeah, make cheaper products. Now, when I mean cheaper, like use cheaper components, cut corners, right? Now you think, well, wait a minute, people won't buy your stuff if it doesn't work. Well, if you can do that for long enough to drive your competitors out, who cares? Right? And that's what happens. I mean, if you do it for long, so you try to cut corners, put it through your products. Hey, remember this brakeman had one of those? Remember this guy that turned the crank riding on the trains? That's a really dangerous work environment. I can't think of anything more dangerous. Well, I can, but I don't want to think about it. And so, the trains, to make that safe, you have to go a little bit slower. That's a cost, isn't it? Safe working conditions are a cost. So you don't make the working conditions safe. You make them work faster, more dangerous, push them harder to get more work out of it. Unsafe working conditions are good for business.
Until someone is very
Try it. Sue me.
really.
Especially back then. Especially back then, you're doomed. You're just fired. And even today with labor laws, you can technically sue, but if you work for somebody big, yeah, sue them. Good luck with that. They got 20 lawyers and it's you. Yeah, remember that term, economies of scale? They'll get you every time. But yeah, you're in the perfect world, or unperfect depending on your point of view. And so, there's an incentive. This is the thing that you got to give for cutthroat competition. There is an incentive for shoddy products. There's an incentive to cut corners on safety. There's an incentive to treat your workers poorly. And it's not that these people are evil, but they're able to shift their morality and say, hey, I have to do it, because if I don't, what are my competitors doing? Yeah, they're going to win and I'll go out of business. So they can justify it. But it's still pretty hard if you're small. You know the people. It's easier the bigger you get. You make workers just become numbers, right? But what's the problem? If you're cutting corners every way you can, what are your competitors doing? And isn't it now a rush to the bottom? Who's going to survive? Competition, and this is what we got to get. Competition is really risky. Competition is the meat of capitalism. Capitalism functions well if there's competition. But the capitalists, those who actually own the machines, they hate competition because it's risky. What do capitalists want? Exactly. What they want is something that eliminates the risk. Something like a monopoly. What's a monopoly? Where there's only one player in the market. And so, if Jonathan's with his cutthroat, just driving competitors out, pretty soon we have no choice, but we're all wearing left shoes. Yes. And people say, we want right shoes. And you could say, oh, good for you. Then don't have shoes. By the way, that's what monopolies do. Why innovate anymore? Pretty, where are you going to go?
I'm not raising my hand, that's just.
Okay, so that's who's played Monopoly? You have not played Monopoly?
I played cat off.
No? You don't think so? Monopoly, and have you noticed something? Monopoly. First off, the game was invented by someone who wanted to show how evil monopolies and big corporations were. And secondly, I want you to think about this for a second. Just think. The game Monopoly, only one company makes that game. Think about it.
Hypocrites.
Yeah. It's always like a partner, brother, but I know it's like it's part of some big conglomeration. So that's all we
makes
have
the
to-
game?
Huh?
Who makes the game?
Me, my backyard shop. Used to always be partners, brother. I remember that. But then I know they're owned by other, like Hasbro, I think. It's like now some big. It's called the holding company. We'll get to that tomorrow. So cutting costs, but how do you do? What do you do then? Everybody's doing it. How do you get a competitive advantage against your competitors? What is the best way to get a competitive advantage?
You innovate.
You can only get so much. What's economies of scale again? Big. That's why this is the era of big business. Economies of scale. You get big, you drive your competitors out. If you get bigger, your price per unit drops. Think about it. That's how Walmart drives out its competitors.
That way, or is that how fast food is less expensive than healthy food?
Oh yeah, because of economies of scale. It's not that the food is more expensive, but because they produce so much. So let's get one word before the bell rings. One thing. Are you ready? But that, if you get bigger, isn't that even more risk? Because what if you still go under? How do you spread the risk out? Who knows? You get a bunch of people to take the risk with you. You find stockholders, but you need some kind of entity to limit the risk even more. You have stockholders own a new type of a company invented in Belgium. Belgium. The corporation. Who owns the corporation? Stockholders. What do stockholders buy? They buy a share of stock. They're shareholders. The stockholders now own it. Now you get investors and you spread the risk out. So, wait. I gotta have one more thing. I know, Dexter, I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible person. But what made the innovation by Belgium such a big deal that would change the world was this: limited liability. Have you ever seen a corporate name, a name of a company that says LLC? Have you ever seen that? That means Limited Liability Corporation. And what that means is the stockholder is only liable for the value of their stock. So if you buy a stock, so I buy stock in Jonathan's company, it's always Jonathan's company. I buy $100 for the stock, and when it goes under, because it's a dumb business plan to only make left feet. We should talk about this. But if you go out of business, how much money do I lose? $100. Any other liability the corporation has, the corporation's liable. And what's the corporation? It's an entity. All right, tomorrow. What do we got to do? Oh, and we will have an essay.
Wait, what's tomorrow's quiz?